Hello and welcome back to the Crafty Meraki YouTube channel. My name is Deepa from Designs by Dee, and today I have two cards to share with you using the new Effortless Shimmer Papers. So these are called ESPs for short, and they are toner papers. They can be used with foil, but I want to show you how to make two cards, one made with foil and one made without it. Now, as I mentioned, these are new products in the store. I have three of the paper packs here. There are 5 in total. The two that are missing are Luminous Leaves and Cupid's Canvas. The one I'm showing you right here is Party Prisms, and as I've mentioned, each of these pads are printed with toner. So that means that you can foil these. Now there are 4 designs in each of the pads. 6 of each design is what you get, so you have 24 pages total. And keep in mind, these are larger size papers, so you can probably get about 2 to 4 cards out of each paper depending on how much of the design you're using on your card. Now, as I said, the first pack I had there was called Party Prism. This one here is Arabesque, and then the last one here is Floral Filigree, or Filigree Floral, sorry if I have that in the wrong order, but these are really pretty, and I think that this last pad here is so intricate and delicate and detailed that you could use this as a card all on its own. You don't really have to add much except a sentiment, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and get started here. So the first thing we're going to do is grab one of those floral filigree designs. You can pick any one you want, and I am going to cut this down to size. Now I want to keep the design vertical, so I am kind of cutting this in a way that you could probably only get maybe 3 cards if you use those extra pieces. If you want them horizontal, you can probably get 2 cards out of it. Now I'm going to put this on my Altenew stamp wheel, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the You Inspire Me stamp set, and I'm going to grab just a smaller floral, and I'm just going to stamp this out with some Memento Tuxedo Black ink. So of course, as you might have guessed, by using the Memento Tuxedo Black, it means I'm going to be doing some Copic coloring. Now, the lines of the stamp are very delicate and fine, so I'm actually going to stamp this out. I think in total I did it 3 times on each of the 2 flowers that I stamped out here. I just wanted to get a thicker line so that I can see it through the lines in the background. Now, this one here is the card that we're not going to be foiling at all, so I'm keeping those florals in the background just as they are. And now I'm going to use some Copics. Here I have the colors BV34, V22, and BV00, and I'm just going to color in the florals. Now it is a little hard to kind of see the lines of the floral through the lines of the background, the ESP paper. So what I do is kind of look at the stamp and kind of compare the lines to what I'm coloring in to just make sure I'm coloring the right portions and coloring them incorrectly. Now I'm not doing anything too crazy with my Copic coloring. I'm just doing some wispy lines, and I'll start with the lighter tone, then add in, actually I think I started with the darker tone, then I color it outwards and blend it towards the light, and then I add more of the darker tone again in order to just enhance the details of the floral. So for the actual greenery and the leaves of the floral here, I'm going to be using G49. Oh, sorry, G46 and G99. So the 2 of these colors don't exactly match, but they go together really nicely to create like a yellowy green type color, like a deep green color that really makes that light purple kind of pop. And you can see once you finally colored this in, it looks really pretty on top of the background, and the floral really stands out even though the actual flower itself is a light purple. The darker green really helps it stand out. So now that I've got all my coloring done, I can go ahead and put that aside and stamp out my sentiment. I'm just using the You Inspire Me, which is the larger sentiment part of the stamp set, and I'm going to heat emboss it on some light purple cardstock with some white embossing powder. So this is how I'm tying my sentiment into the background. I'm just using the same color cardstock as the floral. Now the color is not exactly the same, but it matches enough that it all kind of comes together nicely. As you can see, I'm kind of running out of my white embossing powder there, so I'll go ahead and I will heat emboss that. I'll make the powder melt to the paper, which I think is one of the coolest parts about heat embossing. And once that's done, what I'll do is I'll cut this into a strip so that I can add it to my card. So now I can go ahead and put my card together. I've already cut out my card base ahead of time. This is 5.5 by 4.25, so it's a simple A2 size card. I've taken the same color cardstock and attached it in the background there so that I have a bit of it peeking out around the edges to create a nice purple border. And then I will attach the panel with the flowers on top. And then all I have to do is add my sentiment. I'll do that with a bit of foam adhesive to give it just a little bit of dimension. I always like to add dimension wherever I can. The rest of the card is pretty flat, so this is the only chance I have here. And I'll go ahead and cut off the overhanging bit of cardstock there, and you can see that looks really nice. Now to finish this card off, I'm just going to add some Altenew enamel dots. I just felt the enamel dots, I needed something with a solid color, just like the rest of the card, so that it really stood out and kind of just highlighted the rest of the design. So now let's move on to the second card. For this one I'm going to foil, and I am going to use the same paper pad, just a different design. So again, this is the Filigree Floral. I'm going to cut this panel a little smaller, but a little longer, because I actually want to make it have borders on either side, but up and down it is 5.5 inches. So when I foil these sheets, you do require some type of foiling machine. Now I like to use the glimmer machine and a solid foil plate in order to do this, even though I am using foil, like deco foil that's specifically for toner. You can use a laminator to do this. If you don't have a laminator, this is always an option if you do have a hot foil machine and a solid plate. So there are always options there. If you don't have the laminator, you can use this and still get beautiful results. As you can see, look how gorgeously that foiled. Now, part of the reason why I do use this method is because it foils flawlessly, and I find that my laminator doesn't get hot enough. So if you seem to have the same type of problem, I definitely do recommend using your glimmer machine solid plate and foil it in the way that I just did. Now keep in mind, I did run it through my die cutting machine in between. My machine's just a little too big to put on camera here. But the biggest note that I want to make for this is when you're foiling, make sure you use the right foil. You can't use the glimmer foil with the toner sheets. You have to use foil made for toner, which is the deco foil. Or I think there are other foils out there. Just please ensure that you're making sure they're to be used with toner. So I've kind of babbled on there about the foiling, but hopefully you get the idea that even though these are ESPs and you might not have a laminator, you can always use it with your glimmer machine. That was my main point. But for this card, as you can see, the design, as I said, is intricate and gorgeous, and all I have to do is grab my Copics and color this in. Now, I'm using Copics. If you don't have Copics, you can use any types of markers, pencil crayons, anything. Even if you have acrylic markers, you could probably use that. You just got to be careful with the foil that you don't kind of color over the foil. But this came together nicely, and all I'm doing here is coloring every other floral, either red or purple. And then the leaves, I've got like a beigey tone going on there with a hint of red. Now it did take a little bit of time to color all this in, so I did kind of cut through half of it here. Now, once I'm done coloring all of these florals and leaves in, which is a really relaxing, like therapeutic thing to do, I grab another Copic marker, V22, and I use this to just color in the background. Now, because I have foiled the actual pattern, coloring this in, even though it may look daunting and like it may take a lot of time, didn't really take that much time at all. And again, I'm just going to cut through it here because I'm not doing anything special. I'm just quite literally coloring in the background. So once that panel is done, I can go ahead and start putting this together. But before I do, I want to cut some strips. So I've got some gold glitter cardstock, which I'm cutting some strips from. And then I'll also cut a couple strips from some red cardstock, because what I want to do is create the borders on either side of this panel. So I'll add the two gold strips there and cut off the overhanging bit. And then I will add the two strips of red onto the actual colored panel, and I'll attach that. So what I noticed is that when I added this here, it was just a lot of gold, which is why I added the red to kind of break it up a little bit. And then it also kind of matched with the red that I used on the roses in the card. In the colored panel. I used a lot of purple, so I thought this would kind of balance out the colors. The red from the flowers would kind of pop a little more by adding this. You could use maybe black, you can use more purple. It's completely up to you. I just thought that this would look cool. So I've gone ahead and I've added it to the panel. I've cut off the extra bits, and now I can attach this to the card base here with the multiple borders there on the edge, which give it a really nice clean look. Now that's basically it. All I really need now is a sentiment. Now, I have this box of sentiments that I quite literally foiled a whole bunch of during the holidays. There were the gilded Christmas greetings or holiday greetings, sorry. And there's also the gilded greetings foil plates that I used, and I foiled everything and I cut everything up and I just kept everything in here. So I am actually using the gilded greetings set here that are already foiled for me and cut out. This set or the two sentiments here, sending hugs, actually are foiled in some lavender foil, glimmer foil, so it goes perfectly with the background there. So I thought this would look really nice. And I'm just adding these on with a little bit of foam adhesive. Again, that tiny little bit of dimension just to kind of finish the card off. Now, I normally would add some type of embellishment, but I didn't want to take away too much from that background from the shimmer papers because they are so gorgeous in themselves. So I'm just going to add the sentiment, and that is it for this card. So these are the two cards that I made, one using foil on the Effortless Shimmer Papers and one without using the foil. And you can see they both look equally gorgeous. So, you know, if you say don't have a glimmer machine or a laminator, you can still use these without those. So don't ever think that just because you don't have the foil, you can't use these papers. They're gorgeous pattern papers, and I mean, the foil is just an added bonus. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified of future videos. And everything that I have used in this video is linked in the description below. Don't forget to check out the store. I'll see you guys again later. Have a great day.